All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll get started opening the Port of Allyn regular meeting January 4th, 2021. Call the meeting to order. Will you please join us with the flag salute? Judy's got the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
God.
visible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. We've got our consent agenda items to be approved. We do have a request from a member of the public to, let's see here, we want to remove a consent agenda item and be placed on the regular agenda by a citizen request. Larry, can you help me out with that one? What is the request?
uh,
I can tell you what it is.
go ahead.
Hi, Commissioners, I'd like to ask that both the consent agenda item for the December 7th regular meeting be removed for a separate discussion and vote, as well as the special meeting of December 14th.
So what's the request? The meeting minutes or?
Yes, that's what you're planning to approve, right?
Yeah, that's not what you asked though.
Yeah,
For both of them, Ken, for the 7th and
Yes.
the 14th?
yes,
Um,
and placed on the regular agenda for separate discussion.
Chairman, it's kind of whatever you want.
We'll take public comment. I don't know how much discussion there'll be, but we'll take public comment on it.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and go with our action items of payment of general fund vouchers, payment of payroll vouchers, and payment of water fund vouchers.
I move we accept the general fund vouchers for $20,365.50, payroll vouchers for $16,598.74, water fund vouchers for $1,157.19.
I'll second with one item. We have underneath the, on the signature block, we have Commissioner Scott as chair. So I believe that needs to be switched over to Commissioner Cooper as chair.
All right, a motion with a second with a correction. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So at this point, we could move on to public comment on the minutes of December 7th and minutes of December 14th, so we can move on to approval of those. Public comment on those?
Yes, this is Ken Van Buskirk. On the December 7th regular meeting, under new business D, I wanted to point out that the discussion that's there in your minutes, actually the purpose was to follow up on an earlier special meeting when Commissioner Jackson was running for public office. And both Commissioner Cooper and Commissioner Jackson commented on making sure that there was public notice posted. And that was the only correction I wanted to suggest to that.
Okay.
So Larry, do we know why, or have we have an answer why our meetings, because I routinely check in the paper, they're not being posted in the Shelton Journal?
Okay, I've looked into that because you asked last time, and we are not required to do that. And as tight as money is, I didn't want to spend the money to do it. All we are required to do, because we have less than 10 employees, is to put the agenda on the door 24 hours before the meeting. What we will be doing going forward is being sure the agenda is on our website. And by the end of the week, all of the 2,000 minutes and agendas will be on the website as well. I mean, if you all want me to go ahead and be sure they're in the journal, I'm happy to do it. But every time we do it, it's $100.
Really? I thought it used to be a public service. It is not any longer.
We've always had to pay for it.
Okay.
Well, in that same vein, I don't see any other ports. I looked through some old journals that I have at the house prior to the meeting, and I don't see any other ports doing public meetings through the journal.
Good. Well, let's not then, if it's costing us anyway, I'm good with that.
I think if we get them up on the website and
Mhm.
I can post them on our Facebook page if you want to do that.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Okay,
Is there
everybody.
a correction to the minutes that needs to be made?
Could I make an additional comment, please?
Yes.
Regarding, I checked with the Journal today, and they did have notice when you had a budget hearing. So I'm a bit confused. Other public agencies with less than 10 employees advertise special meetings. So I don't know that your rationale for that is correct. So that's.
Is there any corrections that need to be made to the meeting minutes?
Can he repeat that? Can you repeat what that concern was of yours for the 7th?
There are other agencies that do put notice out of special meetings or regular meetings. And I believe the port put out a notice for a budget hearing. If I'm not mistaken, most agencies do put out notices for the budget hearing. So, and I know that your attorney was present at the last meeting, and I believe Commissioner Scott, you asked when there was discussion about the executive session or special meeting, you asked for comment from him, but he never commented. So I just think it's good practice to put notices, especially if you're having a special meeting. So there you go.
Brad, you're on mute, but go ahead.
So there we go. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, Brad Carey. Good evening, commissioners. As far as approving the minutes of the meeting and all that, this is just a comment taking off from what Ken was saying, has really nothing to do with approving of the meeting minutes. But you guys have to ask yourself, what's the purpose of posting? I mean, what's the purpose? The purpose is to inform the public so that they, if it's something of interest to them, they can, look in and participate in the process. So that being said, how is your public participation?
We
You get a
haven't
lot of attendees at your meetings?
added any other in a while.
Well, maybe it's not working then. Or people don't care, or they're not interested. So I guess what I'm saying is you want to do something that's going to generate interest. I mean, when I was a commissioner, we wanted people to attend. So we reached out to try to get enthusiasm in our community to join meetings. We would have 100, 125 people show up at a little Port of Tahuya meeting. We had problems too. That's why they showed up.
Why they showed up.
Right.
That's right.
And so typically a good barometer of whether you're doing things right is if people don't show up, you have no problems. But I guess the question is what's the purpose? If it's to get people to get interested or at least be aware of what the port's involved in, then if Facebook, your website, if that's where it's going to happen, great. But I guess you guys should have a way of measuring your results. And I'm just coming in new here, so I don't know if you're doing that or not. Are you, Larry?
Measuring the results of the outreach for how many people show up at a meeting.
Are you succeeding in getting people to attend meetings by Zoom or in person?
Brad, is that your question? I want to be
Now,
sure.
are you succeeding?
Answer it correctly.
In other words, if the purpose of advertising special meetings, budget meetings, regular report meetings. If the purpose of advertising is to get people to be interested and aware of what's going on, is it working? And that's for you guys to answer.
Well, I know that Larry was asked the question, but Brad, I have to say it was very difficult to try to ask anybody, well, how did you find out about the meeting? And rarely was it in the paper. It was posted, website. I mean, there were a few of them. Matter of fact, I have to say at the time, there was 2 ladies that would always show up, and it was not through the Journal. So it was word of mouth. And so I have to say the Journal isn't necessarily the best public outreach, at least at this time. That's what I've discovered anyway.
Right. Well, if your objective is to get people to at least be aware of what's going on and hopefully invite them to come, because it's through participation that ports and other agencies are able to accomplish what the people would like to accomplish, then there probably should be a plan put together, whether it's Facebook and the website, if that's all, whatever works, because it doesn't make any sense to spend money if it's not working.
Well, exactly. That's the whole point about the Journal. So, and we do have a plan. We have been working at it, and we have found that the website works well, and also oh, hey, there's Bonnie. And then also the Facebook. We found that Facebook actually works pretty well.
Okay, good. That's the question I was answering, because this is my second meeting. And so I don't know the answer to the question I asked Larry, but you've answered it, which is basically Facebook and the website seem to give you the most bang for your buck.
Yes.
So.
All right.
And they're free.
Does that help? Yeah.
So if we need to make a correction to the meeting minutes, I'll take a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
Well, I'll move to approve them, but I still wasn't clear what kind of corrections need to be done. But I'll make a motion to approve with corrections, but I would like clarity on what the corrections are. I still don't really understand. It should be short and sweet.
I could be a real short to the point.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The purpose of that new business D was to set a special meeting, and the purpose was a follow-up to an earlier special meeting when Commissioner Jackson was running for public office.
Okay.
And both Commissioners Cooper and Jackson commented on making sure that public notice was posted.
Okay.
That's what the minutes should reflect, in my opinion.
Follow up to a meeting that I don't understand.
I think, I believe I understand, Ken, and tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but we just need to reflect on that special meeting minutes that notice Commissioners Cooper and Commissioner Jackson requested that notice was provided.
Just like we did when we had the special meeting that Judy and I called in regards to.
If I might, I don't know if I can't clarify it any better. I went back and listened to the meeting, and the purpose depicted at that regular meeting, the purpose of the new business to set a special meeting was as a follow-up to the earlier special meeting when Commissioner Jackson was running for public office.
Okay. I think that's succinct enough, and I'm hoping that this is recorded so we can change that in there. Larry, is that, can you,
It is being recorded now.
Okay. Okay. So I'll move that we accept the minutes for December 7th with corrections requested by Ken Van Busker.
I'll second. And I'll second with discussion. Are we also including the 7th and the 14th in this?
No, this will just be
No.
for the.
Okay, then I'll second.
Motion and second on the floor to approve the meeting minutes of the 7th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we're going to talk about the meeting minutes of the
The special meeting.
special meeting of the 14th with public comment. Is there any public
Do we have-
comment?
Yes, I do. Just a minute. Let me pull them up so I can find it. It was quite a lengthy special meeting. And special meetings are supposed to be held for specific business that's so urgent that it can't wait till the next regular meeting. But when I gave public comment at that special meeting, I stated during my comment that there was items discussed that weren't on the agenda. And somebody put in the public comment that while this may be true, any public agency is well within the law to modify a meeting agenda as needed. So that might be true for a regular meeting, but it's not true for a special meeting. A special meeting is called for a specific purpose. So I think that should be reflected in my comments.
So do you want that line removed?
Well, it's not appropriate. But I also, I don't know. You folks are the ones that called the special meeting. And it should be reflected that some of those items were not purposeful towards a special meeting.
Well, we followed the RCW. The RCW,
Well, okay, whatever you think, but you took action on items that weren't identified as part of the lead up to a special meeting.
Could I intervene for a moment? Maybe I could simplify it for you, Ken,
Sure.
if it's okay with the commission.
yes,
Sure.
please do.
Yes,
Okay, I think what Ken's bringing to the commission's attention is that under the Open Public Meetings Act, it allows for general meetings, special meetings, and emergency meetings. And I think what you guys had on the 14th was a special meeting. And under that, it needs to be properly posted, and it needs to specifically discuss or, post what the items are of the special meeting. I think what Ken's complaining of, and I think he's probably, sorry about that, I think he's right, is that an agency is not allowed to take action on anything during that special meeting that's not listed on that special meeting agenda. And under, at least it's been a while since I've read Knowing the Waters, but under Knowing the Waters, and this isn't criticism. I mean, how do I put this? This is just so we all learn if we don't know already, so we can do it right next time. Because it's our agency and we want you to do it right next time if it was done wrong. But what it's saying is that you're not, an action is considered, even discussing amongst the commission is taking action on an item. Now, I don't know if Stephen DiGiulio's tuned in or not, but I can tell you, with attorneys, some attorneys say one thing, some say another thing, but at the end, one always wins, one always loses. Let me assure you that it's very clear that when you post a special meeting agenda, you list those items that you want to discuss. And if you make a mistake, which happens, I did when I was a commissioner, we might discuss something during conversation that's not on that special meeting agenda. And then if in fact that happens and we figure out about it, sometimes we figure out on our own. Then during the next meeting, we bring it up in public and say, oh, by the way, we happen to also discuss something that we noticed wasn't even on the agenda. And we just want to make sure those discussions are out here in public for the public to see what was discussed. So that's all. Did I say that right, Ken, or am I wrong? Or
No, I agree, Brad. There was two different agendas floating around. Plus, at that special meeting, it was pretty clear that they were only going to talk about one item. But it didn't happen. If I might offer a constructive suggestion, I think in the future, it might be beneficial if you approve the agenda at the beginning of all meetings, whether they're regular or special.
Well, we
Okay,
can
but-
do that. I think on occasion we have done that, so we've kind of not, I think we've just kind of let that go by the wayside. I'm okay with approving agendas beforehand. Sometimes things do come up. I guess that's, Brad, like what you suggest, you said too, is that we all are humans. Sometimes something will be brought up and then it'll remind us of something else. But it is important, number one, that people understand. I think the good thing is that now that we are on Zoom, it's easy for us to be transparent. It's easy for people to watch and see what we're doing and making decisions. But if we're incorrect, then we do need to be corrected. So I'm all for approving the agenda if necessary. I think that's appropriate. We have done it in the past. Perhaps we should do it again.
Hey, I love your attitude, man. That's awesome. Seriously. It's great.
All right, any other public comment?
I do have to ask Ken, the public comment, I have to say, because I finally have this right in front of me here, that with the public comment part, there is let me read what the public comment says for just the edification of everybody. Ken Van Buskirk stated that the board discussed items that weren't on the agenda. While this is true, any public agency is well within the law to modify a meeting agenda as needed. He also stated that it was difficult to sign on to the meeting. He was correct at this point, and it appeared that there was a digit missing in the meeting link that caused the problem. Additionally, he felt that the cell phone policy will need to be rewritten. This was acknowledged during the discussion, and the executive director will present an update to it as part of the ongoing effort to update all port policies and procedure. Mr. Van Buskirk also stated that he didn't see Sweetwater Park on the agenda and that he still objects to moving forward with that project. So, I think it's clear. I'm not sure who stated, while this was true, any public agency, I think Larry said that he took it off of the Zoom meeting and just transcribed it. So I think that we should just keep everything in there that we have in this. So I would like to make a motion to accept these minutes of December 14th of the special meeting as submitted.
A motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Yeah, just real quickly, discussion here. I went through, I know there were some comments that there was 2 agendas floating around. I went through the agenda that I currently have on in my email still, and what's on the agenda that I have reflects what was discussed at the special meeting. But I know that there was some concerns that there was 2 different agendas. I can only find one agenda. So, and then going through the minutes again on the special meeting, we did say that there was no further action or no action taken. There was discussion on those items. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's my discussion, and I'll second the motion.
Have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of December 14th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on the agenda, we'll move on to commissioner reports. Commissioner Scott, would you like to start for us?
Well, I really didn't do much anything except our 2 December 7th and December 14th meetings. So I haven't, wasn't not able to attend the PRT or the last PRTPO that I was going to go to, which is Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization. And Ted, now you will be the new appointee. So, and you will be having a letter to designate you as the new appointee. So I just want to let you know, Ted, that Thera Black is the coordinator for PRTPO. She's a great gal. You'll really enjoy her. Perhaps you already know her, but her expertise is transportation. And I just want to encourage you to, get in there and dig in. I was on the TAC meeting, the TAC, which is the Technical Advisory Committee as well. That's where a lot of the decisions are made. And matter of fact, it was Bonnie that encouraged me to get on that one rather even just the executive, but I was on both. And it's just mostly because I showed up. And I have to say that PRTPO is pretty critical for our port, even though we don't particularly have any projects at this time. We can apply for some projects, and there's planning monies. One of the things I've been pushing was for Highway 300. As you know, that's really dangerous. So I'm hoping that you can continue on with that and push forward with it, because I think you'll really enjoy it. There's usually about 25 to 30 people that show up at each meeting. So hopefully it'll do you well, do us well. That's about
Great.
it.
The letter went out today also.
Yes, I saw that in the packet. And for me, I did the same, attended 2 meetings. I also reached out to the vendor regarding the cameras for the port. And she was going to take a little bit of time off and get back to me at the start of the new year. So I'm interested in hearing what she has to say about the cameras.
At the special meeting, the regular meeting, EDC, the EDC continues to do wonderful things. They continue to help out the small businesses within our county. You know, if you have a chance to reach out, send them an email, just thank them for what they do for our community and for us. Like I've said in the past, it was never really in their job description to work that hard during a worldwide pandemic, but what they're doing is short of amazing, and hopefully someday we can get back to some sort of normalcy and they'll go back to their mundane jobs, but hats off to them. So yeah, I'm just amazed by what they do. And I would like to, you know, at some point, maybe just get information from them to you guys, so you're a little more in the loop on what they're doing. And it's amazing.
Great. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Moving on to security officers report.
Okay, I'll read that. 12/1/2020 at 13:51. Leanne Dennis called to inform me about a complaint that she received that someone was power washing a vessel on the North Shore storage pier. After further investigation, it was found to be the maintenance crew of divers hired to clean the gangway and pier flotation cells. No vessel owners were found to be cleaning their vessels on the pier. January 1st, 2021, 15:25. Received a call from ownership of the Sea Bear about a buoyed vessel that had broken free in the stormy weather near our North Shore pier. He then let me know they had unbeached it and tied it up to our Pay Pier area. I arrived on site a few hours later to find out it was Andy P's sailboat. I called Andy and informed him of what had transpired. He claimed he'd be out the following day to inspect his vessel and plan from there. I also spoke with Andy today because it's still there, and he is going to come in either tomorrow or Wednesday and bring us some money for mooring at the pier. So that's the security officer report.
Thank you.
Executive director's report.
All right, financial issues. The cost of complying with public records requests ran way over our 2020 budgeted amount. A lot of it was legal fees, making sure we dotted every I and crossed every T so we weren't vulnerable to any kind of legal action. We budgeted the same amount for 2021 as we did for this year. So we'll see how that goes from this point forward and revisit it when we do the mid-year budget review. Other than that, we're holding the line on unnecessary expenses until we know how our established revenue streams are going to perform, considering what has happened with the continuing COVID restrictions. We are, however, accepting bookings for weddings and events at the gazebo. Water system issues. The two main issues right now are working on the new well and a decision about what to do with the Allyn water system well test proposal. We're working with both Aspect Consulting and Northwest Water on planning for the new well. In spite of having an extension until March 2025, I believe we need to move as quickly as we can on this while our system is generating substantial revenue in connection fees. I'd also like us to move forward with being able to service additional connections once we reach our allotted maximum, which we won't be able to do until the new well is operable. Our system is currently certified for a total of 132 connections. We currently have 35 active connections. We've issued water availability letters for another 58, plus have 12 more in the pipeline, which will put us at 105, leaving us only 27 more available connections. We expect to have those 105 connections built out by the end of this year and anticipate an additional demand. We are the designated provider for the Allyn UGA, and with the current level of growth, we won't be able to service it, opening the door for other systems to gain a foothold in our territory. So getting that second well online, in my view at least, is a critical priority. You all tabled the request from the Allyn Cary Water System to use our well as a comparison well for pressure testing, and scheduling a workshop to discuss it is on this agenda. I've asked our engineers and attorney to put together a list of things we need to be concerned with and to discuss at that meeting. I got a draft agreement from Joe Brogan today, which I have forwarded on to all three of you. Also, the loan grant program that we were originally going to use to acquire the Allyn Cary Water System is still active. I confirmed this with Department of Health manager there, who we dealt with originally. If there's interest on the part of the Carys, we could again pursue that. Marina float maintenance, all of the floats have been cleaned. This needs to be an annual maintenance issue, and we'll need to plan and budget for it. When we do the mid-year budget review, we should perhaps add a line item for this. Pier piling issue. When we clean the floats, a diver also inspected the pilings on the pier at my request. There are at least 2 that are in need of replacement. There are also several cross-member braces that have rotted out and need replacing as well. Don can fix the cross members, but we're going to need a contractor who specializes in piling replacement to do that. I think the best path forward will be to have this re-inspected and done when we drive the pilings for the Oyster House platform later this year. We should get the best pricing at that point, since the contractor will have already mobilized here for the new platform. Electrical issue. We continue to have problems with the 600 amp main breaker on the shore of the Allyn Marina. What brought this to a head is we have a boat moored on the dock with some kind of electrical issue. Instead of just tripping the breaker on the power pedestal, it trips that one, the 100 amp breaker in the panel on the dock, and the main 600 amp breaker on shore. It should just trip the one in the pedestal, and that should be it. We have a meeting set up for the 11th with the contractor who did the work, the engineer who designed the system, and the vendor for the pedestals. The engineer thinks there may be a nicked wire somewhere, and that is a possibility since we had this problem previously with no load on the system at all, but when the weather was bad. Salmon hatchery issue. Port of Grapeview is attempting to put together a volunteer task force to reopen the Coulter Creek salmon hatchery and restore salmon runs in North Bay. I sent you all a copy of the journal story about it last week. Commissioner Jackson thinks we should offer to partner with them on this, and it's on your agenda for discussion. Frankly, I think this is a good idea, but since the facility is in our jurisdiction, not the Port of Grapeview's, as a courtesy, it would have been nice if they'd have at least let us know their plans via phone call, letter, email, or something. For us to find out about it via a phone call from a Grapeview resident and then read the story in the journal is pretty inappropriate. Security camera issues. I received bids from ADT and IntelliSystems. AT&T said they're going to submit a bid as well, but we haven't received anything. ADT was by far the least expensive by more than half, but they haven't answered questions about camera resolution, which I think are critical. Commissioner Jackson recently had a contact with the vendor we met with some time back, and she told him she had met someone who could help with this and is going to connect us with them. Looking forward to this, as I want something installed and working prior to opening day of boating season on May 1st. We may end up with several different systems that can be monitored remotely, but separately, because at this point, it doesn't appear we'll be able to find one system that'll tie everything together unless a new vendor has a solution, and that's due to the lack of Wi-Fi on the North Shore. WPPA meeting schedules. Port Day in Olympia is set for Tuesday, February 2nd. It's a virtual meeting, so I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. WPPA is supposed to be getting more details to us shortly. If any of you are interested, I need to know because I need to register you. Policy updates. Early last year, I told you I'd be looking at our policies and procedures and updating them where it was appropriate. We did the update to our cybersecurity policy last month, which I believe was critical considering the $200,000 ransomware attack on the Port of Kennewick and another one last week on the city of Ellensburg. That's why the VPN installed on your new computers are critical. I can install the VPN on your phones as well in just a few minutes, and I think we should. Speaking of the new phones, next up will be an update to our mobile device policy, which will be ready for your approval at the next meeting. Redistricting. At the small ports meeting, 2 sessions were spent on the process of redistricting. When the census results become available in May, we will have 8 months to draw new commissioner district boundaries consistent with the census information. Our deadline for completing this process is January 15th, 2022. So require engaging a consultant, some public hearings, and a cost upwards to an estimated $10,000 or so. I've reached out to all the other Mason County ports to see if they're interested in hiring one consultant and splitting the costs. I got responses from the Port of Duwato and Grapeview. Duwato said they want to look into it a little deeper, see if they can get it done on their own cheaper, as they don't believe there will be any changes. Grapeview said they would discuss it, but I haven't heard anything back from them. Computer upgrades. As you know, we acquired new laptops for all of you. Hopefully these will be much easier for all of you to work with. I have a new Mac on order for myself. Leanne has yet to make up her mind about whether she wants a Mac or a new PC, but either way, we will be substantially under our budget for these and have state-of-the-art equipment. Totem pole issue. Commissioner Cooper suggested since totem pole has no tribal or historical significance, maybe we should just take it down and replace it. On September 10th, 2021, a Friday, Port will be 100 years old. Last month, we briefly discussed having some kind of public open house event to celebrate this. So now that we have a date, I want to get your input on it. Maybe having some kind of commemorative plaque or monument would be appropriate, and it could be placed where the totem pole is now. Belfair artist James Kelsey has a piece of art I thought would be appropriate, a brass and glass fish, but when I talked to him, I found out we can't begin to afford it. However, he did say he will come up with some design ideas for pieces that may work and present the sketches to you at a later date. So that's all the new business that I have, and then I can do the old business if you'd like.
I have a question, Larry.
Yeah.
About the, how much debris did they get off of the docks and the piers and the piers. Was there quite a bit?
Yes. You know, the marina out on Hood Canal, we don't think had ever been cleaned. So,
Okay,
you know, that was a problem. It was all the way down to the bottom of the.
so did it actually raise up the dock some? Just
It
from,
did, actually. It did.
Probably, yeah.
And then, you know, the new dock, there was still some on there, a fair amount. You know, I had asked Ted when was the best time of year to do this, and he said, you know, late October, you know, sometime October, November, and that's when we did it. And that's when we'll continue to do it, because that's when it seems to grow the most, or have the most growth attached to it. So, but
great,
if
thank
you do it every year and budget for it, it should cost us a lot less than it did this time.
yeah, thank you. That helps.
All right, you want to move into old business?
Yeah, Oyster House, nothing new to report on this, as we're waiting on the Army Corps permit so we can take out the launch ramp when the fish window opens later this year. Sweetwater Park, nothing new to report here either. As noted previously, the Salmon Center has agreed to pay for half the cost of a large sign announcing the project, but I think we probably need to wait to make sure the grant will be funded before going forward with any kind of expense. Staging area development, we're almost finished with this. We had a contractor out, gave us a bid on paving it, which may be cheaper in the long run, as we won't have to re-rock it every year. We're going to put down an additional layer of rock and need to have it rolled flat. We contacted Zephyrs, but he says he's too busy with his regular customers to do this, so we need to find someone else. We still have well over $100,000 in the grant, and I don't expect it to cost more than $40,000 to finish the project, including the paving. After that, all we need to do is put up the signage, which we already have in place. Voting season opens Saturday, May 1st, so as long as we're ready by then, we'll be good. Although I'm shooting for ribbon cutting in late March or early April. While Prism continues to have issues, all of our reimbursement invoices have been processed and paid up to this point. Transient Mortgage Expansion Project. This project is complete except for the security cameras and the potential of expanding the fire flow capacity, which we're not going to move forward on at this time. However, the grant closes on June 30, and I'm going to keep it open until then, just in case something else comes up. There's approximately $88,000 left in that grant. All ports meeting as of now with the governor's most recent dictate. Things are up in the air, nothing scheduled. And criminalization of marina rules. Once we get the cameras in place, we can move forward. Until then, we're in holding pattern. So that's my report.
Want to move on to new business?
Mhm.
Yes,
Larry? New
Setting a
business?
date, setting a date for the workshop about the
Yeah,
Allen Carey water system.
I was checking my schedule. Next Monday works for me. I don't know if that works for everybody else. The next following Tuesdays are no-goes for me. Wednesdays are rough.
Yeah,
Following
the
Thursday-
11th would work best for me. Because the
Yeah.
next 2 weeks I'm kind of jammed.
I'd
So
rather do
next
it soon.
Monday,
The 11th is going to be difficult for me.
Okay,
I'd rather do it sooner than later.
And I'm sure Jeff would like us to do it sooner than later.
sure. Let me check
Friday?
my-
This 7th and 8th work for me also, Thursday and Friday.
I have Friday open.
Yeah, I can do Friday. Jeff, does Friday work for you? You're muted.
I don't think he knows he's muted.
You're muted, Jeff.
There we go.
There you are.
Sorry about that. Friday would work. The only caveat in my whole thing is I'm on jury call this week.
Oh, boy.
So far, we're nothing yet. But yeah, I mean, sooner would be better.
Yeah, I agree.
In preparation, is the, we've discussed a couple different things, but is the point to bring the commission up to speed more with my system or both systems, or?
I mean, honestly, for the record, I'm for allowing you to do the test. I just want to make sure we do our due diligence and we're not putting anything at risk or.
Okay, so at this point, I'll kind of go in the guiding light to bring the commission up to what our system is.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot to each water systems report. We have like 350 some pages. I think yours has 400 and some odd pages. I mean, there's a lot of material there, and I don't want to cover all that kind of thing, but I want to strategically at least give the report where we are, what we're trying to do, and go from there.
and the Robinson Noble report, the letter that we just got, I mean, I felt like I understood everything he said. I mean, if I would have gotten that letter 2-3 weeks ago, I mean, it really put my mind at ease that what we're doing is.
We have Joe Brogan also wrote up an agreement, and I think Jeff would probably need to look at that too.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know if we need to just submit it Friday when we meet. We can do that.
Okay.
Well, I want to have some input from our engineers as well.
Yeah,
They're expecting to have to be at the meeting, so,
okay.
okay.
Well, yeah, that's important too.
And
So
I'll
it kind of,
would you like, since Robinson Noble wrote it, do you want them at this meeting too?
I don't care about Barnes and Noble, but Joe Brogan for sure.
No, the
No, I
letter
said
he wrote was very
Robinson
clear. I mean,
Noble.
I
Okay.
felt, I mean, I felt like I really understood everything that they said in there, and you know,
Right, because there was some comments in the last meeting about taking down the port system, and if you look all the way through the letter, there's approaches to even, you know, how to work with the port system in such a way that we're not even coming close to that.
right. And that put my mind at ease. It
Okay.
said if we get to a point to where we have to build the tank back up, that we'll address that. And
Right, right.
so those were the types of questions that I didn't have answered, and it sounds
Okay.
like they're answered. And
Yeah, I sent a note to both sets of engineers, Aspect and Northwest Water, about, you know, the questions that I thought were pertinent, and they answered them, and I forwarded those answers to all of you.
So do we have a time on the 8th that we want to meet? If we were going to bring in, it'd probably be earlier in the day.
yeah,
Really, they would be good.
yeah. Let me check my schedule real quick.
You know, maybe like 3:30 or 4.
That'd be great. 3:30 would be great for me.
I can make it work.
I could work with that.
3:30?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. So Larry, can you get Barnes and Noble? Can you get, is it Reynolds and Noble? Who is it? I can't remember. now.
Robinson Noble.
Robinson. Yeah, can you get them to have their face as well? So 3:30, are we good with that?
Yeah, I just got to check one more place. I have two calendars.
Will that be an in-person or a Zoom meeting?
It'll have to be Zoom.
Okay.
Friday at 3:30, I am good.
Yay, that's miraculous. Because I was going to have to cancel another one. And so this works great.
I'll just say that I'll be gone the rest of the day, right? Right. Okay. So we'll move on to changing the meeting schedule to accommodate a monthly workshop meeting. I'd asked to put that on there, and I guess this would help address the special meeting. So what we normally do is when we have more things that we can address in our regular meeting, we have a special meeting. So maybe it would behoove us to just schedule 2 meetings a month, have them be regular meetings, and we could do our business in the first meeting, and we could move the other items over into a workshop type meeting, second meeting of the month. If we have a light meeting during the business meeting, we can keep everything in our first meeting of the month, and we can cancel our second meeting due to a lack of agenda items. It's really what we're doing now, except now when we have a lot of things to go through, we have a workshop like we're going to do on the 7th. So it's just, it's out, or the 8th, sorry, out there for discussion. What I told Larry was we could look into the RCW, see what it would take to make the port have 2 meetings a month, and just make it a standard practice for us. And when we don't have enough agenda items, we don't have a second meeting, it would be an extra expense for, you know, those extra stipends for our meetings, but, and I'm not saying we have, sorry, I just had an update pop into my screen. And then a VPN. I'm not saying that we're gonna have 2 meetings a month every month. It's just something to consider, rather than having a special meeting periodically. We could have 2 meetings a month and cancel them when we don't need that second one for lack of agenda items.
That'd be fine with me.
That's fine with me as long as if we're looking at, if we're going to do the first and third Monday of each month or the first and last Monday of each month.
The second's not good, second Monday.
Or, well, that would give us more notice, I guess, well, if we had something pressing, we could get it done the next week. And that's good there. I'm just concerned about, I guess it would be addressing that, the first Monday meeting, whether or not we're going to have a second meeting. So that's fine with me if we were to do the first and second.
So,
Yeah, I'm flexible, I think.
okay, and we won't come up with any decisions today. What Larry and I had, when Leanne and I and Larry are gonna meet, we're gonna go through the OPMA, RCW, and we're gonna address things like, should we be going to the newspaper? The RCW actually says we need to be going to the radio station, and, you know, like Brad says, and I appreciate your input, Brad, I really do.
Right.
If it makes sense, let's do it. I mean, if we're
If it
reaching
doesn't,
people that we're not otherwise reaching, but I read at the radio station. I mean, I didn't know that, but I read it in the RCW and I thought, well, we're not going to the radio station. It's not mandated, but it's saying that, you know, it's kind of old school in there, newspaper, radio station. And if that's what we should be doing, then let's do it. But if it's not what we should be doing, let's do what we should be doing. Please.
You know, like, excuse me, like in the Port of Tahuya, we'd actually post ours at the post office in Tahuya. And
Yeah.
because everybody would get their
Everybody
mail,
goes there. Yeah.
it's the bulletin board of public announcements. And we'd post it right on the door sometimes when you walk in. So everybody got a chance to at least see it if they, you know, but if Facebook's working, hey, that's, you know.
And you're right, Brad. We could make a lot of mistakes every day. It's not on purpose. We're
Right.
learning as we go.
If you're-
I would like to look at the RCW to see if we're making any blatant mistakes. Let's fix them. You know, if there's things we're not doing, let's start doing them. If there's things we are doing that we shouldn't be doing, let's stop doing them. And
if you're not making mistakes, you're not striving forward.
oh, it's true. Yeah. How can we get any better? But
I make mistakes every day.
sure. And so Larry and I and Leanne are going to sit down, go through it, you know, tighten things up a little bit. And that's our plan. We'll come with a proposal for a second meeting, maybe February's regular meeting, and go from there.
Great, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Discussion of Port of Grapeview Salmon Hatchery Project.
I've had a discussion with the commissioner there in Grapeview, Gene Farmer, and it's something that I would like to see us pursue. I think, I know it's going to take a lot more than the Port of Allyn and the Port of Grapeview to spearhead this. But I think all of us can remember, I think the really last salmon run we had in Case Inlet was about 2003. But I remember the days when I used to work out here that we'd have those banks lined with fishermen fishing for chum. Most of them didn't catch anything because those fish were so fickle. But what was nice is that the fishermen from all over the area would get done and visit our restaurants in town. And so it brought in people. I remember when our pier used to be packed with fishermen fishing for the salmon. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take some working not only with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, it's going to be working with the feds. And it's also going to be working with our tribal partners, the Squaxin tribe, to get this done. So I'd like to see us work with the Port of Grapeview to get Coulter Creek Hatchery back open. I'm sure some of my fish and wildlife friends would be upset because Coulter Creek became a magnet for netting salmon and poaching salmon, but we did have a nice salmon running case inlet, and I'd like to see that come back.
Who's going to be the spearhead for getting the grants?
I really need to work it through with the possibility. I don't know. Well, I would like to see us and Port of Grapeview work that together, but I think it's going to take more than just the ports doing it. It's going to take the tribal, Squaxin tribe. It's going to take DFW, and it's going to take the feds to allow us to do this. Because if you remember, there was some concern about the amount of hatchery fish being released into Puget Sound and Hood Canal. So a lot of those numbers were reduced to bring back a wild stock of salmon. And there's a lot of experts that disagree or agree about how many wild species of salmon we actually have. But I would like to just sit down and have the conversation with all the stakeholders. And I do believe we need some community members in there, and then see what we need to do. I mean, if it's going to take grant money to bring back the Coulter Creek Hatchery, I don't know what interest the Squaxin tribe has in bringing back a fishery into Case Inlet. I do remember back in, I think 98 was the last time I saw a tribal net inside Case Inlet. If you go up Hood Canal, you see on the Hoodsport hatchery, you see the Skokomish tribe netting those fish that come back to the hatchery. But I don't know, Judy, to answer your question, I think I'd like to just pencil it all out and then we go from there.
Okay.
I don't know
I think it's a great idea.
So I don't know if WDFW still has any staff living there at the house at Coulter Creek. That's some things I need to figure out. And I'm more than happy. I think it's a great partnership with us and the Port of Grapeview, because it does affect, even though the two streams that will be affected is Sherwood Creek and Coulter Creek, it does affect everybody all the way down through Hartstein Island when those salmon come back.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad.
Got a fish question. I love fish. So we're just thinking chum. Is that the species?
Well, there have been sockeye that returned during that breeding season when the chum would come back to the creeks. And I know there's a few sockeye that still show up in Coulter and Sherwood Creek. It's just not the number, but heck, I would look, I look at what those two creeks can hold, and chum salmon seem to be the hardiest of all the species that can return at a lower flow rate in those creeks. So, but like, I would love to put it on the table, get all the stakeholders together and just say, hey, what can we do? Is there a possibility? And let's try to move forward. So
I might make a suggestion. The Skokomish tribe with Bonneville Power, they've introduced that sockeye run over there at the Potlatch. And, you could probably kind of take some of that blueprint. Now they're trucking those fish up to Lake Cushman and trucking the fry back down. So it's labor intensive. You wouldn't have that problem with what you're talking about, but at least the framework of what they just did, and I guess it's starting to succeed fairly well for them. It's been about 3 years now. Would help catapult, your project. The other thing is, if you guys take notes and get all the players involved and get the blueprint put in together to where it works and makes sense, then I could see that being done around lots of other streams, some of them in the Port of Allyn's jurisdiction as well, because a lot of the areas are suffering, not just Coulter Creek and Sherwood and what have you.
I commend the Port of Grapeview and Commissioner Farmer for kind of bringing that up and bringing it to us. So thanks, Ted, for stepping up and wanting to do something there. I see Ken's got his hand up. Ken?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Cooper. I think this is a great idea as well. The salmon don't really know which port they're in, so that shouldn't be an issue. And I know quite a few of the Squaxin tribal members and the fisheries person with the Squaxin tribe, and I know they're very interested in salmon recovery And I think it would be a great partnership all the way around. So congratulations to, working together and making it happen.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. If no more discussion on that, we'll move on to item D, discussion of potential projects to include Port's comprehensive plan update. Larry?
Okay, our comprehensive plan doesn't need to be updated again until 2024, but we've done the annual updates and that keeps it current. And so we're not under a deadline for when we have to submit this. The sooner we can do it, the better. So I just wanted to get everybody's input on what they thought would be good projects that we should include in it.
Okay.
Salmon.
We've made what we had in there before was, getting the dock done. Well, that's done. And the Oyster House is moving along, and hopefully we'll have that thing setting over the water before the end of this year. So, we need to look at some new projects. And
I'd like to see the firing range probably get some action.
I'd like that as well. I think that is just fits a huge need,
Mhm.
but that's just me.
Well,
No, it isn't. It's me too.
I think this would be a great subject for a second meeting, and we would have to talk about it at length. And we have our full harbor or scheme of harbor improvements that we have. I mean, we should probably look at all those again. We have things to check off. Look at what it is that we're currently working on, currently in process, the pie in the sky things, the sports complex, the shooting range. There's more of a reality, but we need we need property, we need grant money, we need locations. So I think another, not all day, but a partial day workshop to work on our comp plan, our scheme of harbor improvements is probably in order.
Yeah, I would agree with
Maybe a
that.
spring workshop or.
I agree as well. I just wanted to get the subject on the table. So,
Yeah, I mean, we have competing interests, and then, we have people that bring us things too, that are of interest to us, that we don't think of, and people say, hey, what about this? And we're like, oh, that's a great idea, but where does it fit? And
yeah.
how do we fund it? Brad?
Yeah, sometimes you can whittle down what it is that you want to include in your harbor scheme of harbor improvements by identifying those things that you don't want to do.
Right.
Getting them out of the way. For instance, I'm a taxpayer, live in Mason County. I don't want an airport, but that doesn't mean what I want or don't want happens. But even in the Port of Tahuya, we used to have surveys that we would send out. We actually independently would send out our own surveys because we only had like 500 voters in our district to try to get a feel for what they wanted and didn't want. That was before we dissolved it, because we figured out that there wasn't anything we wanted to do. And so it's better to dissolve it. But with the Port of Allyn, if you can, I don't know if you guys ever send out a survey to property owners or whoever, but to try to figure out based on a list of things, what takes priority and what doesn't take priority. I mean, do people want an airport in the Port of Allyn? Maybe, maybe not. Do they want a rail facility? Maybe, maybe not.
We want a swimming pool.
A swimming pool. Right. Well,
That's what our survey told us.
okay. Well, they need to talk to Parks and Recreation, but anyway, the point is identifying.
Brad, let me say, we did an online survey the last 2 years.
Okay.
And had some pretty decent response to it.
Oh, good.
So just so you're aware of what we did.
Yeah.
Could I make a quick comment?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Yeah, I know I've suggested before, and perhaps you might want to consider it again, some sort of a partnership with Mason Transit and the Navy utilizing the railroad. I know Sarah Black was very interested in that when I talked to her about it. So that would be something, transportation using that existing rail system would really benefit everybody.
That would be fantastic, but that was like a mountain to climb. But yes, that would be fantastic.
But there's partnerships that can be made, and the port of Allyn is right in the middle of the rail line runs right through the port.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. So we're going to have either our second meeting or a special meeting to talk about our comprehensive plan update. So I'm going to move on to public comment.
I'm here.
And okay, Bonnie, go
I
right
just-
ahead. Nice to see you.
It's hi, nice to see you guys too. I'm all past my COVID. I didn't die, thank God. Been over it for a month. Anyway,
Oh, good.
on your second meeting of the month, if you have it on the second Monday, that's the same night as the ACA board meets.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing
And
to
I've heard
know.
them talking about that before, that they can't be at both meetings. So that's just a thought. If there's something that community should be involved in, that's really the group to.
We won't have it on the second Monday then.
I'll tell them you said that. As far as the Sergeant Oyster project is concerned, you saw, thanks to Judy Scott. the
You were
roof is-
supposed to not say anything on that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Nobody told me.
It's all
Anyway,
right.
we have the money to put the siding on. It's a matter of getting somebody to put it up. I've tried several different avenues and no success so far. But we've got the money to get it and to get it put up, and that's our big next step. And I've talked with the guy that cleaned up most of the windows, and he's cleaning up the rest of them. So we're making progress. I don't know if you've seen the inside, but it's pretty well cleaned up. It needs to be finished, but it's all the structure is ready to go. So it doesn't look like it, but we're making some real progress on it. And we've only got about 15,000 left in our grant. But we've got some other funding, so we're still moving ahead.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to see the progress go inside of it. Maybe one day when it's not a monsoon out.
At least it's dried in now, though. You won't
Yeah,
get
that's
wet.
true. That's
Hey,
true.
I have to say, the crew that did all the reconstruction in there, it is solid. It feels great. It's wonderful. So if you and Ted need to go in and walk around, because it's wonderful. Good, solid.
It's safe now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuck under any guy wires or anything like that. Don't worry about stepping through the floor. It's all solid. We've got there's several different steps that we have to still go through, but it's not something that's undoable at this point. So just keep moving ahead, hoping we get a little more funding at the very end of it, because we're going to need it, to finish up stuff in the museum and that, but we're doing pretty good. So
Thanks for your leadership on that.
Yes.
Sure
Thank
do
you.
appreciate it.
I'll be glad when it's done.
We all will be.
Yes.
Judy, will you be?
There is no words to describe when it gets done.
Just think, then we get volunteers to run it.
There you go.
Yes.
There we go.
All
Now,
right.
Have you guys seen the website that I put up on the Sergeant Oyster? And
I have, yes. Yep.
It's pretty extensive, and I put a lot of the history that I'm
Yeah.
putting it together, but I've also put a lot of it online and a lot of Allyn history that is really, really intriguing. And one of the biggest is that contrary to some people's opinion, there was a railroad from Allyn up to Lake Devereaux and over the hill in 1896.
Wonderful.
Well, in fact, earlier than that, because they've got newspaper accounts of people riding on that railroad. So there's just a whole lot of stuff I've been digging out, and a lot of it is online. So it's under allynhistory.com, and I think it's worth a visit.
Absolutely.
Good.
Bonnie.
Thank you.
Spread it
Anybody
around. Tell them,
else?
Yes, I'd like to.
Please, Ken.
What? Am I interrupting anybody else? I
No,
can't.
you're good. You're next.
Okay, thank you. I just went back and listened to the December 7th meeting. And when you folks asked for clarification on why the meetings weren't being noticed in the journal. Mr. Capola told you that the port had been paying for them. So I think you might want to go back and listen to that meeting yourself. And just consider that if it's something that we've been paying for, that we should continue to do it. Mainly, I wanted to mention that last Monday I sent an email to you, Commissioner Cooper, and included the rest of the commissioners. And it was regarding some of those recent public records requests for text messages. And I wanted to talk to you folks about that before you consider a new policy. And some of what I have to say to you is deeply troubling and very personal, and I don't really want to talk about it in public. And I'd prefer to do it in an executive session with you folks. And if you feel the need to have your attorney there, that'd be fine. But I just would like to talk to you about it in an executive session at some point before you approve this new policy. So that's all there is. And if one of you would care to get back to me about that, I'd surely appreciate it.
Can I take another minute? I looked up the RCW regarding special meetings, and it says the call-in notice is required under subsection blah, 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 shall specify the time and place of the special meeting and the business to be transacted. Final action disposition shall not be taken on any other matter at such meetings by the governing body. You can talk about them, you just can't take action on them. And as far as executive sessions, I would be very, very careful, because the rules regarding that are very specific about what can be withheld from the public and what can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
it deals with personnel issues. You know, it's very, very limited in what you can actually do those. So I would just make sure that you read through those good.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Brad?
Hey there. Yeah, by the way, with regards to Bonnie's last comment with regard to action, the law has a little double talk. It also talks about as action even discussing. So like if I was a commissioner and you were Commissioner Scott and there's a 3-commissioner panel, we're in QFC and we're talking about, you know, the Port Allen dock needing to be repaired or something like that. It's going to happen.
No, that doesn't happen. We don't do it.
It can
We
happen.
don't.
Oh, it happened with me.
No, we don't do it.
Oh, well, it did pretty good because it's happened with me before. But I'm saying that it even talks about the fact that even discussing items is a form of action. But just, hey, also, I've got a really good guy that does citing. Lives out here in Tahuya. He's a specialist. If Bonnie or, you know, I don't know how, I don't want to do it on the air, but I'm happy to give the phone number out to the guy. It's called Apex Inc. is the name of his business. And that's his specialty, is citing. I know he's looking for work. He just moved out here from Eastern Washington.
You know,
So
we charge
Bonnie's looking for
$50 for commercials, Brad.
Yes,
what's that?
We charge $50 for commercials.
Listen, hey, so
Well,
but
at this
Bonnie,
point,
Jeff,
bids.
what's that?
I said, I am soliciting bids.
Okay,
got a
well, I'll have him get a hold of you. How's that?
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, great. You're
So, and
welcome.
Brad, in
So-
reality, Judy and I bump into each other at the post office. We know better to talk about port business.
Isn't
Ted
that
and I, we don't do it. We really don't. It's not, we
That's
go to these,
awesome.
we go to
I
these
think
port
that's a good
conferences and we know better. We really do. We don't do it.
Yeah, that's
We're-
cool. I mean,
we're above that.
it's hard not to be. Yeah, it's hard not to, because one of my friends was the port commissioner, so we're always together, and every once in a while it would come up, and it just happened, you know. So we'd always go to the next meeting. We'd say, hey, this is what we talked about. We forgot. It's only when you do it intentionally to try to, you know, that's where you get in trouble.
And that's what they say at these port, you know, the conferences where the attorneys and the auditors there, that
Yeah.
it's all about intent. But Judy and I, really careful. Ted and I, you know, we don't see each other away from the port very often, but we're very careful.
Yeah, even husband and wives can be commissioners.
Yeah.
They, you know, I mean, you know, especially in small districts. Hey, so Stephen DiGiulio, I asked Larry what we were paying per hour. He wasn't aware. I mean, I know we were paying $4.50 an hour back in 2005 and 6. What's he charging now for his billable rate? Does anybody know?
That's, it's right about the same thing, but it depends on the subject matter. And a lot of times if a junior associate could do a routine thing for him, we do that and we pay a lot less.
Okay, well, just you mentioned you're spending a lot of money on public records requests, running them by council. And as a former public records officer, as well as former port commissioner, and knowing RCW 4256 pretty well, they've changed that law. And public agencies, as long as they're operating in good faith, you know, there's not trying to hide anything, are pretty much protected. So what I'm trying to say is, the old days of an agency making a mistake and getting sued for it and then having to pay a penalty on top of attorney fees, those days are gone. And the law is real clear now that as long as an agency is operating in good faith, it recognizes that mistakes can happen from time to time. And so what I'm trying to say is, I would suggest, as long as you're operating in good faith, I would suggest probably not, I mean, someone asked for records, you either have the records or you don't. And if you have the records, they're either public or they're not public. They're either exempt or non-exempt. And from that standpoint, even if you exempt something that turns out to be non-exempt, as long as it's documented that, you know, you're operating in good faith, I think you have nothing to worry about. And I'm concerned as a taxpayer that, and I still know what you're spending. You mentioned you're over budget in the area of public records. What are we spending on these, getting them involved for these public records request responses?
Well, it depends. Each one is different, and some of them take more time to deal with than other ones.
But like the last 30 days.
In the last 30 days, I think if we looked at the vouchers at Foster Garvey, that would answer your question.
Well, roughly.
It was like, it was $4,000, but I don't think everything they did for us was all in reference to public records.
No, some of it was in reference to Jeff's situation.
Okay, well, I would strongly urge the commission and its a director that when it gets a public records request, you know, I would always reach out to the requester and say, okay, this is our files. These are the records we have. This is what we're going to provide you. And if we find anything else that we come across, then we'll get it to you as quickly as possible. But I think you're going to find that most people are generally fair-minded people and aren't going to go out and create litigation against an agency, if an agency is operating in good faith. That's all I can say. I mean, people are generally fair and reasonable-minded people. And so that's, I guess what I'm saying is I don't want my money as a ratepayer being spent on something like that probably could be just handled through the administrative office.
Well, we would prefer not to be spending it at all.
Right.
But we have an obligation to protect ourselves.
Has the port ever been sued for public records violations?
I don't know. Not the time I've been here.
Not that I know of, no.
I mean, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, I would throttle that if I could make a suggestion. Throttle employing counsel, unless he's free, throttle employing counsel on that stuff because the law's changed. And especially with COVID, now with COVID, it's even been more watered down to where the agency, you know, has lots of leeway. I mean, just operate in good faith, try to get the people, whoever's requesting everything they can. And I don't know of an agency in Washington that's ever been sued for giving out too much information. Okay, I know you're frowning, Larry, but what I'm saying is that typically, if you give out something you shouldn't have given out that was private, if it was done in good faith by accident, it's pretty hard. I mean, people are generally fair-minded. So just think about tightening the belt on that if you could. Okay, high-speed internet. Again, you know, you got Elon Musk that's going to have all these satellites up in the air that's supposed to be providing high-speed internet here pretty soon. And I know our region is one of those first test beds. I don't know if you've investigated anything like that, but I could see a municipal corporation partnering up with its, you know, constituents in this area to try to bring that to the people. And it's going to be off the satellites.
What was the name of the company that you just said?
Well, it's Elon Musk, you know, Tesla.
Oh, okay.
And they're targeting the North American region, Canada, Washington, Oregon, up and down the West Coast, and basically the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest is going to be first on that list to see how it works out. And they're very, very close to that, I'm told. So I think it's like this year, this 2021, they should be in a position to, their goal is to provide high-speed internet around the world for virtually nothing for everybody in the world. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
I'd say good.
I don't like watching Bonnie Knight talk and her lips not move. She's got slow speed internet there, or I got slow speed at my
I've
end.
got fiber. I've got fiber.
Okay.
Diedrich says it's Starlink.
But Jeff, it's faster than anything.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Regarding Ken Van Buskirk, I notice he's one person that seems to always tune into these meetings. All of you guys should embrace that man. I've known him for a long time. He's very, very sharp, and he doesn't have a mean bone in his body, okay, that I've seen. So, and he, in my opinion, he operates in good faith. And so he, to me, is what we all should be doing, but we just don't have the time or have the interest in helping guide our public agencies to try to get the people's business done. That's my opinion, but I think it carries some weight. All right. The port's process of the measuring success and community support. Larry talked tonight about surveying. That's great. If people know what the port is spending, what's it spend? About $250,000 a year, I'm told, brings in about $30,000 a year. Now, I'm a for-profit business. I can't survive doing that, but a port or other public agency, that's not uncommon, as long as the intrinsic value of that difference, the people are willing. It's hard to describe. In other words, people are willing to spend, just like with the fire department. I'm willing to spend, and hopefully I never have to call 911. Now, I had to call 911 tonight before the meeting because my brother was lost. Not Jeff, but the other one. We found him. He turned his phone off. It was a long story, but that's why I got here late. The point is, though, is that the value of the port is not just what it's bringing in of 30 or 40,000 a year, but that value of what it's creating and what that means to people. But as long as the public that's paying the rates can see that, and then they can make the decision that this is a good thing that we want to continue, and these are the projects we'd like you to continue with, because we're all paying for them, not the people that come in from New York, not the people that come in from Seattle. Now, if they spend their money here, they may be paying for them indirectly, or we may be getting, residual value as they frequent our business. I have a business in Tahuya. I have a business in Seattle. Okay. Should I have a business in the Port of Allyn? What's attractive to me is low taxes. In fact, if you look at all around the world, let alone the United States, the top 10 places to live in the United States are usually those locations that have a low cost of living, a quality of life, but low cost of living, which typically runs parallel with low taxes. And so just keep that in the back of your mind. And then these are my visions for Port of Allyn. We moved out here from Seattle 30 years ago. We thought we would miss Seattle. We don't. And a lot of people that have come out here now since COVID, I've been talking to them that live in Seattle, Snohomish County, Pierce County, Tacoma, and they tell me that they actually like living out here now. They like the quietness. And so I like to go to Kitsap County to do business. I like to go down to Shelton to do business, but I don't like to have a big manufacturing plant in North Mason. I don't like a big oil refinery. Obviously, we have a Peninsula Topsoil to make asphalt and stuff like that. But I guess what I'm saying is I see the value in North Mason as a high-end residential, well, high-end and low-end, but residential growth where people don't have all the industrial commercial, which is what ports are primarily about. They see good residential growth, and yet they can still go 15, 20, 30 minutes away and get to that commercial, that job they've got. They can work for Amazon. So far enough away, but close enough that, so that's what I see happening is I don't see factories coming into this area. Now, maybe the public thinks differently and maybe they want factories and manufacturing facilities, but I'm just saying the North Mason to me is kind of like a Mercer Island. And you know, people are out here to get away from that growth, but recognizing that some growth is going to happen anyway, and to the degree that we can use the port to kind of steer that growth to what the community desires, you know, it's a balancing act, but that's what I see happening. All right, that's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Any other public comment?
None from Jeff.
If everybody was fair-minded, we wouldn't have so many lawyers in the world.
You know what? They're running out of work with COVID.
True. All right, anything for good to the order?
Happy New Year.
Yes,
Happy
you
New Year.
too.
I just
Happy
have
New Year.
two things for the other commissioners. If you haven't gone, there's a Facebook page, which I don't like Facebook, but it was started by a Mason County deputy. It's Citizens for Mason County Shooting Sports Facility.
Oh, yeah.
They've been providing some really good information. And there was one article that was sent to me November 30th of 2020. It's entitled Ohio Division of Natural Resources, Ohio's largest shooting range ready to open. It's a very good article how private citizens work with the Department of Natural Resources in Ohio to open up this shooting range. And they have the really nice picture up there. Also regarding Brad's comment regarding the internet, if there's any way the port can get involved, is because what I've noticed now working with United Way is that I'm viewing the internet as a utilities, and we have so many people behind in their water, electric bills, and then we have a lot of people behind on their internet. And to get any federal assistance, state assistance, county assistance, nonprofit assistance, people need to get on the internet to fill out forms. And then let alone we have all of our school children, up until today, all of our school children were doing work from home. And I am trying to work with some groups to try to find assistance so that we can lower some of these delinquent bills on internet service. But it's been a hard road because people don't view it as a utility, as a necessity. Well, I view it as it is. So
It is now, that's for
No
sure.
kidding. It's
Yep.
it's
and
necessary.
that's my comments. And those are my
Thanks,
comments.
Ted. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll move. Second.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Good night, everybody. Thanks for your
Good night. Have a great
participation.
night.